Christopher Nolan wants to kill his wife. No, bear with me. Look, I don't actually think he wants to kill his wife, but he seems determined to give that impression. Now, Chris Nolan is a real auteur, an accomplished director with a body of work that lets us map out all of his trends. Non-linear chronology, existential stories, convoluted plots, but he has one trope that he does more than any other. Married women have to die. I'm pretty sure I'm not the first to notice this, but I do think it should be pointed out more often. After all, the way we view the world finds itself reflected in our films, and what we see on film in turn informs the way we view the world, so a rampant wife genocide is potentially cause for concern. Trouble is, everything else in Nolan's films is so distractingly good. Like, really, really good. Like, some of the best. Or maybe he's just really good at spinning things. But he is not perfect, and in this day and age, I feel that the way Nolan portrays wives, and women in general, is something that more and more urgently needs to change. Alright, if you're not sure what I mean, here is every wife and her fate in Christopher Nolan's filmography. Catherine, murdered. Mrs. Jankis, suicide. Martha Wayne, murdered. Mrs. Al Ghul, murdered. Julia, manslaughter. Sarah, suicide. Rachel, murder. Cirillo, murder. Barbara, survives, woo-woo! Mal, suicide. Mrs. Cooper, cancer. Murph, old age. Kat, survives, woo! Priya, murder. Here's the survivors, and here's the dead. I mean, come on, in 11 movies out of 14 wives, that's 12 dead, 2 survivors. That's a statistical likelihood, like you could bet money on it and feel confident about winning. There were a couple of things I wanted to point out while I was totaling these up. Barbara Gordon is the first wife to survive her film, 10 years and 6 movies into Nolan's career. The second most common female archetype besides a dead wife was a femme fatale. I think it's interesting that women in Nolan films are for the most part either dead or seductresses. There are also 2 separate women in Nolan's filmography to only be known as the Blonde. That initially seemed like something where I could highlight gender bias, but actually Nolan hates names in general. Basically no one has names in his first film, and the protagonist in his latest film is called Protagonist. My favourite is award-winning actor Cillian Murphy's billing in Dunkirk as Shivering Soldier. Nolan clearly sees characters as silhouettes or archetypes, roles to play their part in the wider story rather than unique individuals with agency. So no, I don't think this suggests anything malicious about the way he sees women. For a start, his wife Emma Thomas has produced every one of his movies from day one, and she's the co-owner of their production company Syncopy. I don't believe that anything makes its way to screen without her acceptance or outright approval, and she is accountable for the end product as he is, which doesn't gel with any kind of women-hating intent. No, Nolan's attention is elsewhere, which is part of the problem. He's only interested in tackling big intellectual ideas, convoluted stories with big twists, and wowing with visual spectacle. Nuanced, realistic characters and how they reflect real people are secondary. Each movie, as his plots become more complex, Nolan's characters act and talk less and less like real people.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
That's true.
Everyone and everything that's ever lived, destroyed instantly. Precise enough?
Including my son.
That's true.
The dead wife is just an easy trope to use. A shortcut employed not just by Nolan, but by a lot of filmmakers to put characters in a convenient place for the story. Seriously, this trope is everywhere. Need your character to turn from a hero into a villain? Kill his wife. Need your character to be tragically separated from his child? Kill his wife. Need your character to go on a revenge rampage? Kill his wife. Need your character to leave his ordinary life and do something worthy of a blockbuster? Kill his wife. The number of characters haunted by their dead wives and dream sequences because they feel guilty for their deaths is kind of insane. So we're pretty sure Nolan isn't a misogynist, but regardless of intention, is the trope harmful? Disney characters and superheroes always have dead parents. Is that an insidious attack against family? Probably not. It's just a quick and easy way for a writer to make you go, oh, okay, they're an orphan, that's why he dresses like a bat, or he acts like a spider, or she kisses a frog, or she talks to mice. Orphans are just furries. But can you say the same thing about dead wives? That it's just a writer's crutch? Lazy, but not harmful. In the real world, there isn't an issue of violence against parents, but there is an issue of violence and oppression against women that needs to be rectified. And it's all well and good to say that an issue is systemic, rather than the fault of every individual, but change starts on an individual level. I'm not saying that Nolan's films cause violence against women, but it is so much easier to accept something as a given when it's all you see in the biggest screens across the world. It's easier to accept violence against women as a regrettable fact of life rather than something to be actively eradicated, when one of the most praised artists alive seems to treat it like a fact of life. Representation in media does matter, and wittingly or unwittingly, Nolan's films contribute to a wider narrative of women as victims of men that must be rescued or mourned by other men. When it comes to something present and genuinely important like the representation of women in media, more effort to diversify character roles could and should be made, and we need to be the ones to demand that. In his role as the reigning king of cinema, and one of the most influential people in the world, Nolan is a figurehead for real change, and I get it. In so many aspects, Nolan and the people he works with are at the top of their fields, so it's hard to criticize him when it could be so much worse. But just because it could be worse doesn't mean that it can't be better. And making it better is easy. So easy that Nolan already did it, just with people of color. Prior to the protagonist of Tenet, the only named black characters in his film were Commissioner Loeb in The Dark Knight and Romley in Interstellar. Both are supporting characters that die midway through their films, and I'm sure you remember them perfectly. It wasn't hard to cast John David Washington as opposed to, say, Christian Bale, but the visibility means the world to some people. If Nolan had even one female lead character, or just imagined some other way to motivate his male ones without killing their wives, he would be setting an example for his fellow filmmakers and his fellow men, and opening the minds of a lot of his viewers to the possibility of things being far better than they currently are. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Leave a like and a comment if you've got some thoughts about it. You can check out more videos like this on the channel, and you can also find us elsewhere on social media. If you want us to come to you, just shine an upside down shark light in the sky, and we probably won't come because that's a bizarre communication method. Drop us an email instead.